Hi, everyone, and welcome back. For those who are just joining us, you are at the Safeguarding Resource and Support Hub Conference, What's Next for Safeguarding Against SEAH? The Importance of CSO Engagement in Shaping Sustainable Solutions. We're moving to the last panel of our conference. Here our panelists will discuss the critical topic of leadership and culture change in the prevention of sexual exploitation, abuse, and harassment. Our panelists are working on a wide range of settings, and they will discuss the journey that their organizations have taken to embed PSEAH and what leaders can do to embed culture change and a preventative mindset within their organization. If you are just joining us, there are two options for you to interact. One option is through the chat to share any reflections or resources, and the other one is the Q&A box. If you have a question for a speaker, please use that Q&A function so that the speakers can see them. And be sure to mention the name of the person that you're addressing. On this panel on leadership and culture change, we have a range of great speakers. We have Oge Chukwudozie, who is RSH Global Advisor and works with RSH Nigeria. We have Libertad Benito Torres, who is Senior Gender Advisor and PSEAH Focal Point with Equitas Canada. We have Caroline Kibos, who is the former South Sudan Hub representative and lawyer, and who currently works as an independent consultant. And finally, we have Zia Ullah Baloch, who is head of programs with Health and Rural Development, Pakistan. Let's just start with a question to our audience. So audience, pay attention. We would like to know from you, why is leadership and positive organizational culture so important in addressing SEAH? Please respond in the chat. We're looking forward to your contributions, because it's not just the speakers that we hope to get inspired by. We also want to get inspired by you. So let us know in the chat, according to you, why is leadership and positive organizational culture important in addressing SEAH? Thanks in advance for your great contributions, and let's keep them in mind now that we're moving to the conversation with our panelists. A final reminder to our panelists to please speak slowly so that our interpreters can translate your important messages to French and to Arabic, and also to keep an eye on that Q&A because there will be questions coming your way to respond in writing. We will now hear from two organizations that have built a culture of prevention against SEAH in different contexts. Let's start by hearing from Zia Ullah Baloch of Health and Rural Development in Pakistan. Zia, could you describe some of the changes that your organization has made on PSEAH? We hope to hear from Zia in just a bit. For now, let's focus on another case study. And that is from Libertad Benito Torres, who works with Equitas, which is a Canadian CSO that works in Haiti and the continent of Africa. Libertad, we're very curious to hear what the steps are that your organization has taken to embed a culture of SEAH awareness. Please let us know. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Fabienne, and so excited to be here with all of you. So I will say that for Equitas, all the transformation and the changes, we need to put it in the context of the crisis of 2018. And Equitas, as many organizations, took very serious what was happening and reacted in different ways. So I think one of the major things has been the leadership of the management team and the board and the commitment that they have shown. So for example, in the Canadian context with Global Affairs Canada, organizations that sign a contract, we needed to have a code or a policy on the prevention and response to sexual abuse, exploitation, and harassment. And our board and our leaders in the management team, they lead this piece that is so important for an organization, because it's the vision, the approach, the procedures that you have to work on safeguarding. So I think that has been major and key for Equitas and the changes in the culture. And I think through the journey since 2018 until now, the executive director has been worked very closely with me, that I'm the focal point, but also with human resources. So I think that's very important. I think having a policy and procedures to respond to incidents has been very also important, because people can refer to the policy, they know the procedure. I think capacity building and bringing awareness with the staff, it has been like also very important to transform attitudes and to build capacity in the team, so that they are able to respond to incidents if they witness something, but also, you know, if they are survivors of any case of sexual violence in the organization. And I think in terms of programs wise, I think the fact that we have been developing tools that can support the teams and the partners has been also very important. Can you hear me well? Because I'm seeing a comment that, yes? Okay. So having tools, for example, for prevention, so that we can build the capacity for facilitators of the activities in our projects, but also for participants in our activities has also been very important. Identifying roles and responsibilities within our team, but also with partners, has also been very important in the steps that we have been taking. I think it's also very important because you need to clarify when an incident happened, how you're going to respond and to manage an incident. Identifying also resources in the context that you're working to support survivors has also been another practice that we have implemented. And I think also we have tried to continue to engage and commit in Canada and internationally in communities of practice. So to do advocacy, to continue to learn with other experts on how to implement good practices, what are the challenges that we are facing. And I think we can bring all this knowledge inside our organizations, within our projects, and implement these good practices of keep in mind certain challenges. I think another thing that we have implemented and that has helped, the organization to continue their journey has been to evaluate or to assess once per year, how are we doing? Like what are the gaps? What we need to strengthen in our organization, but also what are our successes? What are the things that we are doing well and continue to keep doing it? And this work of assessing and evaluating is done with the executive director, with myself, that I'm the focal point for programs, and also human resources. So that allow us to sit once per year, the three of us with our different roles, and see, what are the gaps and what can we do the next year. So this idea of doing a monitoring and an evaluation allow you to see where are you at, and also to do certain actions for the next year or the next few years. So for example, I think that the last piece that we have done, we saw doing an evaluation that we have some capacity building, but we didn't do it every year. And there was like all the time new people come into our organization. So, there was like differences in awareness and capacity. So we decided to develop an online course so that everyone that was coming to our organization was at the same level in terms of capacity. So we included in that online course, of course, our policy, our procedures, but also, bringing awareness and capacity on what are sexual violence, exploitation, harassment, how to integrate a survivor-centered approach to our response, and also to include intersectionality, in these issues. And I think that help, that everyone is at the same level, or if they have any questions, they can come to me or to human resources if they have any questions. We also provide the resources that the organization have if you are a survivor of sexual violence. So I think that's certain actions and certain steps that Equitas has taken in the last years. Thank you, Fabienne.
Thank you so much, Libertad, for sharing some perspectives from your organization. Audience, we're looking at you now. We're curious to hear from you if your organization is embedding some of the ideas that were shared by Libertad. And if so, please do share them in the chat. Of course, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A so that our speakers can respond to your question in writing. Am I hearing Zia? It sounded as if I heard.
Hello, is it clear now? I hope so.
Yes, it is. Fantastic.
Is it clear?
It is. Yeah, we can
Thank
hear
you.
you.
I'm sorry for some technical issues here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the whole team of RSH, and it was really great for our organization because we are from such a rural areas. Our organization is working on different projects, health and rural development, Balochistan, especially empowerment of women and minorities' rights and education and different projects as well. But before, it was not that much crucial and important for us, or we haven't knew importance of safeguarding and PSEAH, that how it's very important for one of the organizations. Since we have started the sessions from RSH, and it was really great for my organization and for all our teams, because we are working from such areas that's near to Afghanistan and other countries as well. So different people are living here. I mean, different from religions and different languages. They are living in this area where we are working. But it was difficult for our organization, I must say, that to build confidence to the community and other minorities that they have to come together and work with our organization, which we are working on peace and minorities' rights and empowerment of women. But we haven't have the safeguarding policies, and I really appreciate the whole team of RSH because of them, their sessions. Madam Dar Saba, she was given us wonderful sessions. Because of that, we made our policies, safeguard policies, and that was very successful and wonderful for our organizations, because we are working with the mostly some of the universities here in Balochistan, Pakistan. So those university mostly girls we are directly working with them. And I must mention that we are working with many of the refugees girls, and that was very difficult to build their confidence. I must say, because of our safeguarding policies after taking these sessions, RSH sessions, and our mentors, we together just build our policies. After the policies, it was a really great changes in our organization with our volunteers. Hundreds of women are working with us, especially from different areas, as I said, that from these refugees as well. That was a really great a change in our organization as well, because we made our policies, safeguard policies, and SEAS policies, and that was a positive building confidence of those minorities and the women, because we are working on different projects, and that's what really we haven't know about the importance of safeguarding and harassment policies, and we are implementing those. And we have started with our different projects to give 15 minutes for the safeguarding policies, harassment policies, which we have written and made after the sessions of RSH sessions. So because of them, many of the hundreds of women, especially as I said that before, we are working with the different universities, mostly the girls' universities. They are coming to us, and they knew about the new policies, safeguarding policies, because of sorry, because of these policies, most of the people and girls are joining our organization. This is what the positive changes, because we build a confidence that we are having the way of complaining, that whenever you have any harassment complaint, so you come, because we have just nominated our 2 focal persons, 1 male and 1 female. It should be 24 hours. And that was really great for us. We have shared one of our projects activities with the Minister of Education here in Balochistan. She appreciated the activities and the safeguarding policies and RSH all efforts, and she committed that she is going to build a helpline and safeguard policies that from there for all our province, not only. I must mention that it's not only these safeguard benefits. We are not only getting the benefits. Hundreds of organizations are working with us throughout in this province of Balochistan, Pakistan. So from here, we are trying our 100% best to share those all confidence, and that because if we see the Balochistan and tribal and the religious way, if we see that that's very difficult environment here. But whenever you give the surety to the community, to the people, that these are our policies and these are our ensure to for the women, for the minorities, for the people, so they can understand, they come forward. So that was really great for us and for my organization, not only for organization, because as I said, that these minorities, refugees, and other people, because of our these policies, safeguarding policies, harassment policies, most of people are also trying to join the development sectors and CSOs and other organizations to come forward, because this is one kind of to build their confidence to come up and make a great future for them, because these areas, as I said, geographically very difficult because of flood, because of earthquake. So most of the organizations are working here. Whenever we are just coming with the safeguard policies, with the PSEAH policies, then it will be very great for these areas. So people come to the CSOs, to the organization, NGOs, because it's a very positive, I must say that a positive sign for them to come. I really appreciate here the whole team of RSH, because of them and Aftab Saab and Anisa Dar, they have supported us, and that was wonderful for us, because we haven't knew that safeguarding policies have that much a backbone importance in one of the organizations. So that's why I really appreciate and the changes. Because of organization, many girls are coming now, many girls are contacting us, because we are working on empowerment of women. These are great changes, and those people, they haven't had the confidence to come forward and to know about their rights, about their empowerment. They are coming, because this is the confidence because of RSH, these trainings, these sessions, and we made our policies. This is the surety the community is coming to us, and they are means a great confidence built for them to come forward. I really appreciate your efforts, and I would also request here that it maybe continue, because we want to take this all in rural areas our as well, because this is just bounded in one district. We want to take this all overall. In Balochistan, there are more than 36 districts, and because the people have to come and they build their confidence and to contribute for better future and for better world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zia, for sharing all of this with us. It's critical to highlight not only organizational change, but also the specific role that leaders play in shaping a responsive organizational culture, not only focused on compliance alone. Caroline Kibos has some interesting perspectives to share on that. So, Caroline, would you tell us, how can leaders avoid a tick box approach and ensure that there's actual meaningful cultural change on PSEAH?
Well, thank you so much, Fabienne. First of all, I would like to let everyone know that for every safeguarding measure we have in place, it can only be sustainable. It can, if we are able to integrate them into our way of working as an organization, into our culture as an organization. And the people who are responsible to do that, of course, all of us in the organization, but mostly it's the leaders, because they are the ones that actually play a very great role in setting up the behaviors, the priorities, and the culture of the organization. So what do the leaders have to do? First, they have to lead by example, because for your staff or for any employee to be able to do what the leader wants to do, they have to actually see what the leader wants. So all the leaders should ensure that they lead by example. They should be role models in encouraging positive behavior and challenging the negative behaviors that they don't want. Then they should be able to create and maintain a culture that understands and values safeguarding. This should include cultures that actually promote safe working environment. By safe working environment, I mean where diversity is actually promoted and inequality based on anything that causes inequality is challenged, so that everyone at work feels the same and everyone feels that they are treated in a good way. Then the leaders also have to ensure that they communicate strong messages regularly. This should be done both formally and informally. These messages should actually touch on our safeguarding as an organization. Because sometimes when you do things on the formal way, certain things are not communicated properly. So there should be other informal channels. For instance, during lunch, during some catch-up meetings, these safeguarding messages should come out strongly so that all the staff, both the support staff and the non-support staff, to be able to get them. Again, the leaders should be able to demonstrate a zero tolerance. What do I mean by zero tolerance? Zero tolerance is when once any issue is reported or any concern is reported, the leaders should be able to respond to them appropriately. Therefore, for them to respond to these issues appropriately, they should actually create accessible, confidential, and trusted reporting systems. Because if you don't have such reporting systems in place, such systems that people are able to trust, such systems that people think are safe for them to report to, so there is no one who's going to come up and report any issue on any violation. Again, it's the role of the leaders to be able to put the survivors, their views, their rights, and all the risks, they should be put at the center of all safeguarding measures. This is because you want to respect this is in accordance with the principle of respect, because you want to respect the wishes of the survivor. You want to respect the dignity of the survivor. So you have to put all the risks and the views of the survivor at the center of any safeguarding measure that you have in place. So we also encourage that leaders should be able to have focal persons in place, safeguarding focal persons. These are people who are charged with responsibilities with regard to safeguarding. These are people sometimes who handle the reports, the people who receive the reports. But then not just appoint these people, the leaders should be able to work with them and to support them, to empower them to do their work properly. Because sometimes you find in organizations, people are appointed, but they are not given that power. They are not empowered to do what they are supposed to do. But in this case, what I would want to encourage is that the leaders should actually appoint and empower these people. They should be able to work with this they receive, or they are able to extend whatever safeguarding measure they have in place. Again, while doing the risk management or the risk assessment, it's very important that the leaders should ensure that safeguarding is included in the organizational risk management. In the risk assessment and mitigation plan for the whole organization, it's very imperative that safeguarding must be included in that. And as you do that also, you should continue to monitor the progress of the safeguarding measures so that you see where you've done well and where you have faulted or where there is a challenge. This will help in ensuring that you improve on your areas of need. Also, the leaders should be able to discuss safeguarding openly at leadership meetings, not only have this with their peers or with the staff, even at the management or at the board level, the leaders should be able to discuss safeguarding. Even there should be someone at the board level to be assigned with a safeguarding role as a focal person, because sometimes things can happen at the organizational level or at the executive level that would need the intervention of the board. So for instance, if a concern is raised and it's the leader or it's the executive director of the organization that is implicated, you would not have a focal person try to go against his boss, but that can be done by the board. So it's also very good to empower the boss at the board and to have people, one person at least at the board, to act as the safeguarding focal person. And also to encourage open conversation. This is something that the leaders should have. They should as well encourage everyone to talk about safeguarding, everyone to talk about issues that they think are of concern, or even during doing the risk assessment, everyone can be involved so that you could see what are the concerns that can come from each person's lens. Sometimes this can just be done at a senior staff level, but you do not know what the junior staff might actually envisage. So it's always good to have an open conversation on safeguarding with all the staff. And then finally, in the policies and the strategies and the plans and the budgets and what have you, safeguarding must be included. Leaders must ensure to include safeguarding in all these things so that it's taken care of, so that we don't have instances where you would say that this is not, safeguarding has not been budgeted for, or you say there is lack of this and this. So if you include safeguarding, you integrate safeguarding everywhere, then you make sure, then you make sure that it's integrated well, and it will be something that is not only of compliance, because this becomes now a way of life. It becomes a way of people actually doing it every day. So it becomes part of the culture, part of the behavior of the staff in the organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for your contribution. And there are some interesting tools that are available and that can help create a positive culture on PSEAH. Oge has been working on this. So Oge, I'm curious to hear from you. What tools are available to help organizations start to measure culture change on PSEAH?
Thank you, Fabienne. So we have lots of tools, and I'll highlight some. RSH has a tool called Measuring Culture of Safeguarding within organizations. And this tool was actually developed with the other accompanying tools, developed during a mentoring program on culture change that we had for organizations. And this was to really support them to improve the organizational culture. So during that mentoring program, it was found out that aside tangible aspects of an organization, like having policies, which are essential, and having resources, which is great, there are still some aspects of an organization, say informal norms and practices, that actually form the bedrock of how the culture of that organization is. So you might see some organizations, they have great policies, but yet that is not translated into the way of working. So like a policy or their value might say open communication, but yet when people bring up issues in meetings, it's not accepted, or it's turned down, or, like their favoritism or some other discriminatory measures against, some aspects of staff. So this tool, the Measuring Culture of Safeguarding within organizations, was developed to help organizations assess their practices, to assess, not only the tangible aspects, the policies and all, but also to assess these informal practices. So things like organizational values, like leadership behavior, like organizational behavior, those are like key things that tool highlights. Those are like the key things that organizations, assess, the thematic areas that organizations assess. And when they assess that, they're able to now identify the gaps, because you have to be true to yourself, identify the gaps and the areas you need to improve on, and then, develop action plans to address them. Then also, Bond has a tool on developing and modeling a positive safeguarding culture. The tool was designed to actually help leaders to play an active role in promoting safeguarding within the organizations. And the tool, goes beyond just compliance, because we already know that safeguarding is not just a tick box exercise. It's not just what you say, oh, I have a policy and that is it. Oh, I have a safeguarding focal person and that is it. No, it doesn't end that. That commitment, that drive to actually continue to improve is essential. So that's what this tool does, to just go beyond compliance to addressing a robust safeguarding culture.
But we just have 1 million other things going on right now. That's why I was thinking. But I think
Someone else is
so.
talking.
When you say
Yes. Please continue, Oge, while our tech hosts will solve the matter. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's what this tool by Bond does to help organizations and leaders look beyond tick box, just compliance, but rather to developing a robust safeguarding culture. And this also, the tool helps to foster discussions. In my experience working in safeguarding, I found that having those essential discussions is very important. It's not just to tell people, oh, you can't do this or you shouldn't do this, but rather have an opportunity where people are able to discuss, to share, to ask questions. That way people actually understand the value and are able to appreciate the importance of safeguarding and now be able to incorporate it in their lives, in their roles, and in their activities in the organization. Digna also has sets of toolkits for addressing PSEAH. The toolkits are also like for conducting PSEAH audits and self-assessments. So when organizations assess themselves, they identify the gaps. And one thing I've also noticed with organizations is that because most of the donors and projects that assess are more like, let's see what you do well. Let's see the areas you are. Then if you're not doing well, you don't meet criteria, and then maybe your risk level is high and we will drop you. So we see people who just want to, like the knee-jerk reaction would be, let's rate ourselves as high as possible so that we'll be able to, take on this. But for safeguarding, it goes beyond that. I always tell people this is about capacity strengthening. And then if you record yourself high across all the domains, then that means you don't need that capacity support. So having tools to actually help organizations to truthfully assess themselves and be true to themselves, identify their gaps, and then move on to addressing them. Similar, RSH has an organization capacity assessment tool, which is, basically for an organization, we call it like for safeguarding basics. So an organization who hasn't started, the journey on safeguarding can pick this tool, and assess themselves. And, there's also a guidance note to it that will help organizations to, know exactly what they need to do. And when they assess assess themselves against the thematic, the domains that we have, then they will be able to now identify the gaps that exist and develop action plans and work on those things a step at a time. Like when we have the mentoring programs, I usually encourage organizations to prioritize areas, because you might have like so many areas that you need improvements on, quite right. But then when you want to, like embark on all of them at the same time, it will really get overwhelming. So having priority actions, a step at a time to address the gaps. And, when after addressing specific actions, then, the organization can reflect back and pick other areas to improve, thereby, continuing to improve themselves. There is also RSH Safeguarding Journey Training Kits. This is another essential tool that builds capacity on safeguarding culture and practice, because it provides an opportunity for an organization to even understand, that training of what safeguarding is and what a safeguarding culture actually entails. It comes with facilitators guide and slides so that organizations will be able to take on this, and with a skilled facilitator will be able to facilitate these sessions. And like I mentioned earlier, facilitating these sessions will help to either virtually or physically, but have opportunity where discussions, where people can ask questions, where people can seek clarifications on things and really discuss, because safeguarding is sensitive, there might be some arguments for and against, but eventually understanding that what we're actually aiming to do is actually not to cause harm. So the principle of do no harm is actually like the underpinning principle for safeguarding. All in all, we don't want to cause harm to our program participants, to our partners, and to anybody who comes in contact with our organization. So having that as the underlying principle is essential, and then people understand that and will be able to continue. So I'm sure people will be wondering, oh, like all these resources, all these tools, how are we going to get them? Never mind that these links and resources will be shared to registered participants. They're also going to be up, some of them, or they're already even on our online hub, and will be shared to registered participants at the end of the conference. Thank you, Fabienne. That's it.
Thanks so much, Oge, for sharing these practical tools. And audience, like Oge just said, all the tools and resources that are being discussed during this conference will be made available to you after the conference. You will receive an email in your inbox, so please keep an eye on your inbox that has a link to a page on the online hub that has all those resources listed just for you. Now, I have a question for all the panelists, and that question is, what advice would you give to leaders of organizations that have not made a start yet, or that would like to go further on culture change? Libertad, please.
Thank you, Fabienne. So I will say that for me, as someone that is leading those changes, I will advise to understand where your organization is at. Is your organization, already have codes or policies? Do you have procedures to respond to an incident? Also understanding what is the general level of capacity and awareness of the staff in your organization. So do you have training? Do you need to develop other training? And also, I will say to commit and engage with your management team, with your executive director, with the board to understand, are they open? Are there like champions of this? I think it's very important because in terms of cultural change and having resources and support and being an example, a role model is very important. So that they are on board and that they are committed. Sometimes that's not the case. No worries, we can find other strategies. So for example, if there's like other people in the organization, that have an influence in the organization, that have senior roles that can also support you in your journey, that is also important to identify allies that have an influence in the organization, and then you can move your agenda. I think also understanding in your programs, in your projects, do you have some tools, for example, on prevention? Do you have, some tools that can help facilitators of your activities, that can support participants of your projects, to understand what is sexual violence, what are the different types of sexual violence? Do you have tools that can help you to support survivors if there is an incident? Do you have, certain things around clarifying roles and responsibilities? Because that is important. If something happened, what is the role, for example, of your partner? What is your role? How, you're going to support the survivor of the investigation? I think that's very important, to understand where you're at this. I think also something that can be used, or that can be an opportunity for advancing this in your organization, is understanding what is happening in the sector. For example, is a priority at the national, international level. It's something that donors are requesting. That can be a leverage, to push the agenda in your organization and say, this is required for a donor. We need to integrate it. I think also sometimes that can help certain projects. For example, projects on gender equality are more open to integrate safeguarding. Also, projects that have like high risk also are more open. So maybe you can start from there. So again, like trying to see if there is like opportunities, if there's allies. Just, I will say that this is a long journey. This is not something, that is going to happen in 1 year. And I will say, as Audrey said prior, you need to prioritize. Maybe there's like certain things that there's a lot of resistance that you can go there. So just like identify what are the entry points, what are the people that are committed, that can support you, that are champions with you, and just go from there. Because like, it's very difficult to do everything at the same time. And if there's like huge resistances on something, maybe it's not the time, maybe you have to postpone that. So that will be my advice for leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Libertad. Let's move on to Zia. That same question to you. What advice would you give leaders of organizations that have not made a start yet, or who would like to go further on culture change? What would you tell them?
Thank you so much. Just we have to see, without leaders, it's not possible to bring boost of any of the organizations. They have the experience, they know good and bad and everything about the society. Whenever they are contributing, they are also know that in which way we have to take our employees, our society, and our people to implement the safeguard, especially safeguarding policies and harassment and sexual abuse. It's not only what I have experienced in these background areas where I belong from. So it means that whenever you are going to establish an organization, first step should be your safeguarding policies. Those depends on the leadership, that they must know that without the safeguarding policies, it's not possible. It's not only just we say that simply that these are safeguarding policies and PSEAH policies that we have to go. But what I have understood in these times where we are taking these sessions, that's completely a backbone of organization, because from your hiring, from your office environment, your CEO, your board of members, and if there will be a comfortable environment in your office, because the check and balance, that's in leadership hand. So leadership must understand you are going to make a successful organization. You want to work for the people. You want to work for the best humanitarian, better future. So that is the first step should be taken by a leadership, that they must know to contribute and bring a good positive flexibility amongst the society, amongst the employees. They have to come and comfortably to work in organization, other than organization, with their volunteers, with their community, with the different the people that belongs from minorities, from majorities, the leadership have the very big responsibilities. They must know that without their check and balance, it's not, for example, these sessions we are conducting, this conference, that's wonderful, but the leadership must know the means review of those policies, review of the commitments of the means according to your society, what the changes, what the new cases are coming regarding sexual abuse and harassment. There are different kinds of harassment is coming. Your cyber harassment is coming, physical harassment is coming, and there are different kinds of harassments are coming. So according to those, the leaders have to sit together in organization to change their policies according to that society, according to that community. Without the leadership, and the leadership whenever not sincere with the organization and the organization policies, it will be very difficult for that organization, for those communities to run a great organization and to achieve those objectives. Whenever we are looking to achieve a good objectives, any of the projects, we are working for the better humanity. Any of the projects we are working on, empowerment of women, we are working on education, health, or whatever we are working on, without the leadership contribution and without the leadership check and balance from means a person from PM driver till the upper means you were executive director, you were board members, without the check and balance and changing the policies according to the time, and again it will be very difficult for that organization to achieve the targets, achieve those. I must say that it's not only the safeguarding policies, it's not only PSEAH policies, it is the survival of the organization. Without these policies, and I really appreciate the RSH that we are taking the benefits because community is coming to us and giving those positive means approaches because of these sessions. And secondly, the leadership has to involve. It's not only safeguard policies. This is to run organizations, CBOs, NGOs. Without the leadership contribution, it will be very difficult for any of the organization to come up and achieve any project's objectives. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Didier, for your thoughts on this matter. I'm also very curious to hear from Caroline. Caroline, what would you like to add on to what Zia and Libertad have already shared on, what advice to give to those leaders who are just starting or who need and want to go further on culture change?
First of all, I would tell them that culture change is a very complex and long process. They shouldn't think it's going to happen in one day, in a month, or in a year. So they shouldn't really rush it. But also, the good thing with it is once you start seeing the fruits, you start, that feeling when it's like you're rewarding yourself. So first of all, what they should exactly do is to identify their strengths and weaknesses. As Oge had said earlier on, some of these tools for assessment are meant for you to honestly feel and see where you are at. So there is no need for the lie high yet you actually know that this is not your rating, your actual rating. So it would be very good to actually identify what are those areas that need improvement, and then you work on those areas that need improvement. And as for your strength, you keep maintaining them, because it will also not be good to know your strengths and then to drop. Secondly, they need to clearly articulate their values, their behaviors, and the practices that they want to cultivate in the organization. Because if they do not if they do not articulate it well, then the rest of the staff will not know what needs to be done or what needs to be achieved. Thirdly, they should have a very honest and open communication with the staff. And they should ensure that there are regular updates so that the staff are always informed and they're always updated to help them also be in the know-how. This open communication should actually be an avenue where they should share the reasons why do they want a change in the culture. what are the expected outcomes? What do they expect? And then how will the staff contribute? Because if you want anyone to help you, you need to also show them what is there for them, what is their role in what you're doing. So the staff should also be told on how they will contribute to achieve that. Then the leaders should be able to engage the staff in this whole change process. How will they do that? Is they should be able to always encourage the staff to give their input and also to involve them in decision making. Because if the staff own this, then they will, there is a beauty about ownership. When people own an initiative, they make sure that it thrives. They make sure that they do everything, they give it their all so that it succeeds. So once you're actually engaging with the staff and involving them in decision making, they actually own this thing and they will be committed to achieve that new culture. And then it's also important that they should start small. Yeah, it's as much as we have a very big goal, we should have some small, everything starts small. We should have those small, baby, manageable changes, manageable steps, which if we build on them day by day, they will be able to create the large goal or the larger goal that we are all achieving. How can they do that? Is maybe they should start with pilot programs or initiatives so that through this piloting, they're able to demonstrate the benefits of their desired culture change. Then from there, they can be able to scale it up. It's also important that the leaders should celebrate the successes. Even the small wins should be celebrated. Because once you recognize programs that have rewarded behavior change, then you celebrate them. It helps to reinforce more change because people will see that this is being celebrated. So let's also do more so that we have more success and more celebration. It's also important to notice or to know the capacity gap. Yeah, once you know what is missing, then you're able to equip the staff with the required skills so that they are able to bring about the change and also to maintain and thrive in that change. And then it's also important to make continuous assessment of the progress of the change made. They are continuously assess the progress. You assess, you gather feedback regularly, not once in a year or once in 2 years. It should be regular gathering of feedback. When you gather that feedback, you should also be willing to adapt the strategies. As per the feedback, you have to adapt so that you see or you align yourself with what is needed. And then finally, leaders should be patient and persistent. As I earlier on said, culture change is a long-term process. It cannot be achieved in a short term. So there is need for patience and persistence because it takes time for anything to do with cultural change. They should also be prepared for setbacks because this is life. Sometimes you go high, sometimes you go down. So they should always prepare for setbacks and also for resistance. This is something that we don't always talk about, but with culture change always comes some resistance. So the leaders should actually be prepared for that so that they are not taken aback. But as much as this happens, they should always stay committed to the vision that they've had. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And of course, last but not least, I would love to hear from Oge. Oge, what advice would you give to leaders? And is there anything that you would like to add onto what Caroline and Zia and Libertad have already shared?
Yes. So first, leadership commitment is essential in creating and fostering a safe organization with positive organizational culture. We cannot overemphasize that. Leadership commitment is essential. You may have safeguarding focal persons and other people, handling different roles in the organization, but still the leaders are, are accountable for safeguarding. And leaders should also model positive behavior. This is very critical. When leaders, give out and expect so much from their staff, but that what they expect is not seen in them, then it will not work. It will not work. So it's important that leaders actually model this positive behavior. They should lead by example, so that when staff see that, yes, this leader is, when we say transparency, yes, there's transparency and there's no favoritism, and that inequity and inequality is challenged, then the staff will now, reflect such behaviors also on their own. And then, they should also seek out these available resources on the topic to help them, because it's all a learning process. Just like Dr. Lennon mentioned in the opening remarks, that we are building these aircraft as we are flying. So yes, it's all a learning process, but there are already strides that have been made. So it's important for leaders to seek out available resources to help them in this journey. And then, as I mentioned earlier, aside from policies and other formal procedures, it's essential to also reflect and think about the informal norms and practices. It's very essential. How are things done in this organization? How really are things done? When a staff, is due for leave and applies for leave, for example, and then it's never granted, but yet, or when a staff, complains or lays up a fact or something challenging in the meeting, but it's just, pushed to the back burner, how do you expect that staff to go out, see a PSEAH incident, and come back to report? Because on their own, they're feeling, no, my voice is not heard. I'm not, enough to speak. So if I'm not enough to speak on normal issues in the office, how then can I bring, PSEAH sensitive issue back to the organization? So it's important to really reflect on these informal norms and practices. So positive safeguarding culture involves a learning culture. It's about building trust. And then, of course, we also know the benefits of having positive and safe organizational culture is that it enhances staff commitment and productivity. Just like Caroline was saying earlier on, reward positive behavior, celebrate small wins. And when these are celebrated, people will see that commitment is there and then productivity is there, and ultimately everyone wins. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Oge, and also thanks to the other panelists for your incredibly valuable contributions to this panel.